Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're watching or listening. My name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. Today we're going to be providing the last installation into the U.S. Constitutional Amendments series going on our recap. Now, the recap definitely does not serve as a substitute or replacement for going back and watching through each of the individual amendment lectures, just because the recap is a reference, not a substitute. I'm sure it goes without saying that understanding the U.S. Constitution in totality, all 7 articles, all 10 articles to the Bill of Rights, and Amendments 11 through 27, going to be very beneficial to you when defending against or even combating the ever-growing hostile lawfare state. So let's go over this quick reference guide. I know it's a little cluttered. I really wanted to make it concise and brief so we can go ahead and wrap up the constitutional amendments and get on to more practical rules of procedure type-esque legal matters. So we're going to run through the amendments here real quickly. Again, please go back and watch the lectures 1 through 27 in this series. That way you can best understand the amendments. These are just supposed to be little quick refreshers as to what each of the amendments are about. So the first 10, they are misnomered as amendments. They are actually articles. Thomas Jefferson referred to them as articles. He said if you do not include these, he won't even consider ratifying the U.S. Constitution. So these weren't just little changes and additions. They were prerequisites for the U.S. Constitution even being considered for ratification. So Article 1 to the Bill of Rights, of course, says Congress can't make any law respecting or regarding or inhibiting free speech, the expression of religion, inhibiting press, the right to assembly, the right to redress grievances, and religion. Article 2 to the Bill of Rights. Most people are familiar with 1, 2, maybe 9 and 10. Definitely the 5th in the Bill of Rights. Very beneficial to understand all 10 very intimately, because they do greatly benefit you and apply to you directly, individually, on a day-to-day basis. So Article 2 to the Bill of Rights, of course, protects and guarantees what God has already bestowed upon you. And that's the framework you have to apply with the U.S. Constitution. It's not the U.S. Constitution gives you these rights, it's God gives you the rights. These are God-given rights to man, and the U.S. Constitution is merely acknowledging and recognizing what God has already given upon man. That's exactly how the founders thought about this document and its predecessor, the Articles of the Confederation. So, of course, Article 2 to the Bill of Rights guarantees your right to keep and bear arms without any exceptions whatsoever. Article 3 refers to the quartering of soldiers in times of peace, that it's not to be enforceable except by some measure of law, but even that has caveats. Article 4 pertains to unreasonable searches and seizures. Again, please go back and watch every single one of these lectures. These are merely supposed to be references, merely snippets. That way you can remind yourself of what each of the amendments refers to or provides for. Article 5 to the Bill of Rights provides you your due process, that you cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of a law. Equally, that you do not have to self-incriminate. Article 6 guarantees you to a speedy trial and the assistance of counsel if you so seek. Number 7 provides you the right to trial by jury. Number 8 deals with cruel and unusual punishment, that no excessive bail can be assigned to you upon conviction. Number 9 details that people are infinite in their rights, that the rights hereby enshrined and given to the federal government definitely is not infinite, and everything not stated in the U.S. Constitution belongs to the people. And if not to the people, then number 10, Article 10 to the Bill of Rights says those powers are then reserved to the states. So ultimately the people are sovereign, and then the states are sovereign, and then the federal government can claim its jurisdiction, but only after those first 2 parties surrender what powers they will. Powers specifically enumerated in the U.S. Constitution. Then we get on to the actual amendments. Amendment 11 pertains to jurisdiction of the judiciary regarding certain matters between citizens of one state and the states. Number 12 talks about an election process. Number 13, about birthright citizenship. Number 13, 14, and 15, of course, disputed as to whether or not they were even ratified legitimately. 14 talks about equal rights from birth. Number 15 says you have the right to vote regardless your race. The 16th Amendment pertains to the income tax, which the federal government tries to argue gives it the entitlement to some portion of the fruits of your labor, which it does not. Even the state secretary at the time admitted that, and the Supreme Court upheld that. Amendment 17 describes in the case of vacancy in the Senate. 18 is prohibition. 19 is women's suffrage. 20 is the 10-year start date for congressmen as well as the presidency or the executive, so for the legislative and the executive, as well as deals with a lame duck scenario, so for incoming candidates in the instance of resignation, death, illness, things like that. The 21st Amendment repeals the 18th Amendment, so gets rid of prohibition. 22 limits presidential terms. That's where we get the 2-term limit for the executive. 23, DC gets the right to vote, which it can't because it's not a state. Read the Founders Papers if you want to know why DC was kept from being a state. 24, no more poll tax. You cannot charge a tax whenever you go to vote. 25 deals with the succession of power in case the president has a mind-blowing experience. What to do in that instance so that way the reins of power aren't just flapping around in the wind while an emergency election is being implemented or provided for. Number 26 guarantees the right to vote to anyone, or guarantees the right to vote to citizens of the states who are 18 years or older. And of course, last, Amendment 27 deals with officials' compensation, saying that compensation for government officials cannot be adjusted until the election of representatives has intervened. Excellent. So like I was saying at the very beginning, this does not serve as a substitute, as a replacement for going through and watching each of the individual lectures. And I did my best to keep this series very short, very brief with each of the lectures, just so that way you had exactly what the U.S. Constitution already says. Because understanding that in and of itself is going to be, it's critical. It's imperative to understand the U.S. Constitution. All 7 articles, all 10 articles in the Bill of Rights, Amendments 11 through 27. Absolutely imperative to understand all of that in totality, so that way you can most effectively wield it in defense or even combating whatever attacks that will, not if, but will be waged against you, your loved ones, or your hard-earned property. So if you have any questions about any of the amendments, if you have any questions about the articles, if you have any questions about maybe a topic that we covered in a previous lecture or a topic you'd like me to cover in a future lecture, please post those in the comments so I can best serve that purpose of providing you with the necessary skills and information to, of course, defend against the ever-growing hostile lawfare state. Because again, it's not a matter of if, but when. Equally, if you didn't enjoy this lecture, go ahead and let me know how I can do better so again, I can best serve that purpose of helping you. All right, so my name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information that plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. I'm not sure what the topic for the next lecture is going to be, but I'll do my best to make it as informative and entertaining as this one, if not more so that way, again, I can serve that ultimate purpose of assisting you. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and regardless of the topic for the next lecture, until I see you then, I bid you all farewell.